Are you ready to learn how to ace your very first job interview even though you have no experience? In this video, I'm going to walk you through step by step the best ways that you can start getting on job interviews without feeling too nervous, hopefully with a little bit more confidence. And I'll walk you through the perspective from an employer basically of what we're looking for so you can answer the questions confidently. Now, the first thing to do once you have that confirmed date for your interview is actually going ahead and researching the company and the role that you applied for. What I mean by this is actually going into, whether you found it on LinkedIn, on another job site, looking up the company on their website, their Facebook, their, and everywhere else on their social media so you can get to know more about them. And you want to research more on the role that they want you to do. So this is where rereading basically the job ad that you applied for will give you an idea of what it is that they're trying to solve by hiring for this role, because if they are hiring for a role, there's usually a problem that they're looking to solve. So as a really good example, if they're trying to hire for someone in marketing, that means their current marketing either isn't working or they need more manpower to boost what they currently have. And you can know that if you're just looking at their social media. If they're hiring someone for sales, that's also a problem that they're trying to solve. If they're hiring for admin or anything else, there's always a gap that they're trying to fill with this position. So you want to look up what could be possible reasons why they need this role, and sometimes, and oftentimes to be honest, they will put that in the job ad. So for example, for us at 2XU, we do hire executive assistants, so it's pretty kind of obvious why we're trying to fill a role. We have a client looking for these specific skills. And the biggest reason for that is when you're doing the interview, you want to kind of echo back the things that they've said in the job ad, in their company website, or in the assets that they have put out for their company, basically echoing back like, hey, this is why I'm a fit. I've read from your website that I'm so-and-so. So that's why you want to get familiar for the company and the role that you're applying for. Now, as a bonus, you can put in an initiative that you found somewhere. So let's say that you are trying to apply again as a social media manager or marketing manager. You can say, hey, I noticed that you guys get comments and you don't respond to those. When I get hired as your marketing assistant or marketing manager, that'll be one of the first things that I would focus on, is kind of bringing up the engagement by replying back to comments, or even just engaging with them, even just by liking or some sort of meme that we can send them. So it's showing that you have initiative, that you looked at their stuff and you are aware of the problem that you're trying to solve with the job position that they're trying to hire for. Next is keeping in mind P.E.K. So when you're in an interview, you want to remember, pause. It's okay to breathe. It's okay to ask them for the question again. E is for examples. Anytime they ask you a question, you want to give a specific example of a situation to illustrate your answer. C is clarity, or having a central point. So it's keeping in mind that when you're answering things of like, oh, what do you like to do for fun? You have a central point of like, oh, these are the things, these are the examples that I have done this. And then the last part, which is K, is knowledge. This is where it comes in that you've researched the company, you've researched the role, because you can keep going back to that. Now, if you don't have any experience at all, you're not really quite sure on the K part, on the knowledge part, on the role, again, this is where kind of just researching and maybe even finding YouTube videos of people talking about this role, even if it's a different company. So you have a good way, a knowledge base basically, to know what these people are talking about when they jump on the interview with you. You have some idea of what that day-to-day looks like. Next is, as you're preparing for the interview, I recommend it to be there 10 minutes before. Now, the reason for that is you want to check 3 things. First is actually testing your internet. I've been on a lot of interview calls before where they just jumped on, wasn't even checking the internet if it was good or not, and they kind of just did it and kind of had to suffer a little bit when the internet suffered, so we had to even reschedule those interviews. So you don't want to lose momentum, so even before, just test your internet, see if it needs restarted, or just go ahead and just restart it anyway, because you never know. The second thing you want to check is make sure that you're wearing appropriate clothes for the interview. I have had interviews where people were still in pajamas or in less appropriate clothing, so just make it look professional, as if you were an in-person interview. You could put on a little bit of a jacket, you could put on a little bit of more formal clothes, you could make it where you might have your hair tied up and you have a little bit of makeup on. Just look presentable, because an interview is essentially kind of like a first date. Like, you've already filtered them through, you might have talked to them a little bit, but you really want to put on your best best foot forward. So you want to dress appropriately. So it doesn't have to be dressing to impress, but to the point where you're not just wearing your pajamas going into an interview. Now, the third thing you want to test is your camera. Now, I have seen and even sadly rejected people right away just because they didn't have their camera right. And what I mean by this is I have had people who their camera was way down low, so I was like looking up at them. I couldn't really concentrate. I have had people who, for some reason, they're on Zoom, but they had it on their phone and they just had their phone twisted. So technically on the video, they were still kind of upright. And anyway, you want to test out your camera. If it's on the right angle, you want it to at least be eye level for you, or at the very least not to be right on the ground or too high that you can't even concentrate yourself as you're doing the interview. You want it to feel again that you guys are having a conversation, you're having a first date, you're trying to see if this is the job for you, and not just that you're the person that they're looking for. Now let's go through answering common interview questions, and I'll go back and forth between what it looks like for an employer of what we're looking for and how to answer this. And when it comes to answering the question of tell me about yourself, the main thing that we're looking for as an employer is to see if you're a match values-wise as well, not just skills-wise, but if you're a match values-wise for the company. This is why it's important to research the company values if it's available online or what they usually post about, so then you can relate that to the company. Here you want to just highlight the relevance for your role. So let's say that you're trying to apply for a social media manager. I'll just keep using that because it's usually the easier ones to relate to. Even if you have no experience, you can go ahead and talk about, hey, Facebook or Instagram or social media is actually my passion. I've dabbled in it a little bit myself. I've never had direct client experience, but these are the ways that I've been doing it. And if the employer asks you, tell me about yourself outside of your resume, again, they're looking for a values match on this. So you can start talking about like, oh, for me, when I'm on my down day, I actually love reading books. I go through courses, I go through YouTube, or, you know, I have this life outside of myself that motivates me to work. You know, I work so I can live. So you want to paint out what your life looks like outside of your day-to-day, or things that you look forward to, because honestly, the client or the company is really looking at if you have something outside of just work to motivate you to keep moving forward. This is also a way for them to find out like how to reward you as well, of what are things that you love to do, that you're passionate about, and finding out how to tie that in with motivating you from the day to day. Next is the question, which is usually scary to hear, is why do you want this job in the first place? Especially if you have no experience. You can't just say outright of like, oh, I just want to gain experience. You want to relate it to the company. Why do you want this job with this specific company? And you want to focus also on the outcomes you can deliver. So for example, on the social media manager role, you can say, I want to apply for this job because I love what I saw on your guys' page. I love what it is that you guys are doing. And I want to make an impact on the work that you guys are doing by bringing in more leads, bringing more engagement, bringing in more momentum for your social media. This is why I am here. Again, for employers, we're trying to see why you could be a fit, trying to imagine working day to day with you and seeing if that's a match. Next is answering the question, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Now, honestly, here as an employer, I'm looking for self-awareness. That's mostly it. If you say like, oh, I actually don't know, or actually I've never been asked this question, but you know it's gonna come up in a job interview question. So you want to actually go ahead and highlight what are your major strengths that relate to the job as well, not just generally your strengths, and the weaknesses that you're currently working on. Again, we're all looking for just self-awareness here. So your answer could be, oh, my strengths are creativity. I can brainstorm through problems. I'm someone who likes to be actively participating when there's something that's in front of me. My weaknesses, though, is sometimes when there's not a clarity on the tasks and priorities, I can get lost in all of the mumbo jumbo. So I do ask a lot for the next steps or clarity on it so I can keep moving forward without losing a little bit of momentum of what I'm working on. So again, this question is just, do you have the awareness of what it is that you can work on and what are things that we know that we can rely on you for? Next is the question of describe a challenge that you've overcome. Here, it's really good to answer this with the STAR method. I forgot where I heard this from, but it's basically making sure that you give an answer that's specific. You mentioned a task, an action that you did, and results. So for example, oh, before we were launching this project and it got really stuck and it caused a little bit of miscommunication, a little bit of rift within the team. Or if you've never had experience in this role before, you can also say in school, we had this project that we were working on again, make it very specific. We were trying to finish up this project on, X, Y, and Z. My responsibility was, as the leader, is to make sure that things actually got done. So for me, I took the action step of going ahead and making it clear to everyone what needed to be done next to kind of create that clarity. And from then on, I always made sure that whenever I was in charge of a project or working on a project with other people in the class, that we had the clarity on who was in charge of what, so then I could avoid instances like that in the future. So that is basically what the STAR method is. Again, specific, the task, the action you took, and basically the results and what are the lessons that you're now learning for the future. What did you bring basically for the future if ever you're in that situation again? Next is answering the question of where do you see yourself in 5 years? And honestly, this is for employers who's trying to see if you're in it for the long term, because honestly, it's more expensive for us to rehire for this position if you're not going to be here long term, and we would rather try to see if there's that match basically moving forward. So for this, just write out the career path that you see yourself in the company. This is why it's important to research the company. So it could be, let's say, for your social media assistant, like, oh, right now as I'm starting out as a social media assistant with you, I'm hoping to later on actually handle your marketing and maybe even be your marketing head, where I can spearhead campaigns and help grow the business further. Now, whether or not that takes 5 years or less, my goal is to really head up a marketing team. That's where I see myself, and that's what I'm looking forward to while working with you. So with that, you're just making sure that they understand your own goals of whatever that looks like. So then for them, they know what to or how to support you more specifically, as that is the path that you've chosen. Next, and this is also a really scary question of why should we hire you? Now here, they're really just looking if you know your stuff, if you've understood so far who it is that they're looking for, and how you're connecting the dots. So here on why they should hire you, this is where you talk about specific outcomes that maybe they've described in the job ad or when they introduced the role to you, that you can then start doing right away. So you should hire me because I am the person that you're looking for, the social media manager role. Yes, I don't have direct experience on it, but this is something that I am passionate about, that I've taken courses on, that I've tested out myself, and I'm really looking forward to, again, growing that engagement with you, growing the consistent content with you guys, so then we can get towards the KPIs that are important to you, as well as for me to be able to further grow with you as the business grows. Again, this is really all about establishing that commitment back and forth of what are you willing to give, as they're willing to give you that career growth that you're looking for. And finally, when it comes to them asking of like, do you have any questions? Don't just say, I'm good, I asked, or you guys gave me what it is I was looking for. Try to find other questions to ask to show a little bit of curiosity about the role. Now, I've seen so many people who were highly qualified where our clients actually said no to them because they didn't have questions to ask. Now, what you want to ask them is, one, routine. What does the day-to-day for this role look like, week to week, month to month, so you can paint a picture yourself if you could actually do it. Second is, what is the growth plan for this role? Where is it, 6 months later, a year later, 5 years later? How do you see this role growing? You can also ask them, what is the training needed or training provided for this role? And what are possible initiatives or projects that you guys are working on that I can jump into right away? Now that you can either, again, suggest initiatives that you can do based on what you've seen for them so far, or again, it's just asking of where the team is currently right now and where you can basically insert yourself into. Of course, you can ask for feedback of like, how did I do on this interview? What could be things that I could improve on? And when it comes to communicating with you, what are things that I have to keep in mind to do so? So then you're also getting back what the culture is, what are the expectations, so when you're working with them, you can keep that in mind. And finally, you can ask them when to follow up. You always want to make sure that you're wrapping up the interview of like, when can I expect hearing back from you again? Or what's the process now moving forward after this call? That way for you, you can follow up, and please, please, please make sure to follow up. And you also know the timeline of this role hiring process basically. So then for you don't have to stress out or be anxious because you already know what the next steps are going to be. Now, a couple of best practices when it comes to doing interviews, especially if you don't have any experience. One is, if it's available, research the hiring manager, or if you can't find this out already by yourself, just ask the recruiter you're talking to of like, oh, can I get more information about the person I'm going to do the interview with, so then you can research them a little bit better. Two is, if the company has content out there, watch it. Why not? It's already on there on the internet. So just so you can add a little bit more into your knowledge bank. And also, again, research more about the role. Even if it's not for that company, you can watch day of my life videos. So this is what I do as an XYZ person videos. So then again, more into your knowledge bank. And finally, make sure to breathe and smile. This is a job interview. They're not gonna harm you. They're not going to ruin your life if you flunk out. And know that you can recover as long as you and just smile a little bit and know that this is all part of the process, all part of the experience is going through things like this one. Now, if you guys like this video, make sure to hit the thumbs up button right there and comment below what's an interview question that you've come across, and I'll teach you hopefully how to answer them. And if you still haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button right there so you don't miss any of my videos every Sunday and Thursday on how to work from home and how to have a business from home, which you guys can check out those two playlists right here and the latest video right here. Hope you guys have an amazing day, and remember that small steps matters, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!